My name is Robert. I've been at the door for 9 years, 2 years as a volunteer, and 7 years working with the data group. I told my mother I thought I was gay when I was 13, and she told me that it was a phase, took me to a psychiatrist who told me it was a phase, and then that was that. And I learned how to hide, and I buried myself in the high school students against the Vietnam War movement. And then I finally came out in 1974 and attended my first gay pride. So, what I'm proud of is all of the people who stuffed envelopes, who came to marches, who did childcare for lesbian mothers so they can attend meetings, who planned agendas, who planned the marches, the marshals, the millions of people who weren't the leadership of the movement, the millions and millions of LGBTQ people who put their lives on the line so that we can be where we are now. The fight's not over, and we have to start fighting for the Equality Act, which will give us equality across not just jobs, but accommodations and everything else. But I'm thankful to everyone out marching now. I'm going to turn 66 this Pride weekend. It's also my 39th anniversary. My husband came to spend the first Pride weekend with me, and that was it. We fell into each other's arms. So I feel like I've seen incredible amount of change, especially in the media, especially in the past 15 years. But we have a lot more to do. Many of my friends in foreign countries are under the threat of death right now if they're found out. So I'm proud of everyone who's out in the streets now marching for Black trans lives, for Black Lives Matter. And I want them to know that they make a difference. It's not just the leadership that brings us where we are. It's the masses out there doing all the grunt work. One other thing I'm proud of, Stonewall 10, this button right here. I was working on planning what was then the Gay Pride March. It wasn't a parade, it was a march. And we decided to have the Stonewall, people who were at the Stonewall Rebellion, march in front of the march. Now, back then, there was only one major lesbian organization in New York City, Lesbian Feminist Liberation, and they were separatists for good reason. Men in the movement hadn't treated women very well in the early 70s, so a lot of women separated. I was part of a group that we formed of gay, male, and lesbian socialists, and it took us 6 months to decide that we could work together. So things were pretty fraught between men and women. And LFL didn't want any transvestites in the march, as they called them then. Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson called themselves gay male revolutionary street transvestites. And they were going to be at the head of the march since it was the 10th anniversary. During the meeting, the final planning meeting, about 60 members of Lesbian Feminist Liberation came in, surrounded us holding hands, chanting, "No transvestites in our march," over and over and over again. Yeah, so we held fast and we put our brothers and sisters, our trans brothers and sisters, up in the front, along with other Stonewall people. What happened is some women separated and had a separate rally at the end of the march. But I'm proud that we stood up and for our trans brothers and sisters and put them up front when they needed to be up front. But New York is so different now. I mean, it's so much better in terms of not being separated racially. And Black Lives Matter demos is showing that. I mean, I'm so glad it's not the New York I grew up in anymore. That's why whenever I see these nostalgic people from things from people my age, like, remember when, you can go to the corner store and it's like, remember when people were racist and